Good evening, Robert Scribbler, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Helkey. And for this episode, I am going to share with you Helkey 11, A Curse Rider Goes Forth. But first, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the opening scene and the main character that's involved in this chapter. Now, the opening scene occurs in Hell, or in my version of Hell, which is a part of the Arisen Worlds universe, including Hell, Earth, and Heaven, locked in a kind of discordant entanglement, a conflicted relationship. And each of these worlds is a living world in and of itself. The trajectory of both Heaven and Hell has been determined. Hell has failed in its existential crisis and is heading more and more toward ruin, and heaven is more idealized and has succeeded in overcoming its own existential crisis. Now, underlying this all is a kind of spiritual relationship which includes souls that I call wisps, and as is typical with heaven and hell and earth relationships, the more malign wisps gravitate toward hell and end up there, whereas the more benevolent wisps drift through the multiverse and tend to end up in heaven. It's not also predetermined in this universal set, as it is in, I guess, typical understanding of earth, heaven, and hell. There is also this outer darkness, and there's various opportunity for errors and chance in this whole relationship. But boiling down to this chapter, and in particular to the location in hell where it starts, we are looking at a map of the region, which I have made with my own license to the Incarnate map making software. So this particular map is something that I own. It's for the Helkey series, but I made it using map art that is provided by Incarnate. And what we see here is the dark heart of hell, Fortress Invicti. This is the Lord of Hell, Asmodeus's place of strength. And to the west is a subset of the Burning Lands, which go on for many, many hundreds of miles, continuing on to the west. And this is a kind of fossil fuel caldera. It's a place where coal and fossil fuel deposits upthrust from the earth and were laid bare by the elements. And coming up beneath these fossil fuel deposits is a hot spot in various active volcanoes that form a kind of fossil fuel caldera. Now, the devils, they mine in this area. They extract the fossil fuel reserves for burning in their various infernal engines, which also are kind of like ghost in the machine type structures. They're infused with some of the wisps that have come to hell and been enslaved. And there's a center of industry whose hub is here, and that ripples on out throughout the Burning Lands. To the east of Fortress Invicti is an ocean section called the Lake of Fire, and this region of ocean burns because flammable gas bubbles up from hydrate deposits in the seafloor and has been ignited both by magma flowing out from the Burning Lands and from lightning coming down from storms, which are quite frequent in Hell's hellish climate. So a little intro to the environment. The segue chapter deals with a character called Gibbens Crane. He is a curse rider, And the function of curse riders in the Hell-Earth relationship is to serve as special agents for Asmodeus to hunt down and slay mages, but not only to slay them, to capture their wisps and bring them back to hell, because mage spirits particularly are are especially prized by devils. They have more spiritual energy and can be used to empower more infernal magic or hell's fearsome engines. So that's a little intro to this chapter. We will be going back to Myra Helkey in the next chapter. So without further ado, I will be reading for you Helkey 11, A Curse Rider Goes Forth. Eastward, the lake of fire realm of hell's ocean burns. Bubbles of gas rise up from seafloor to surface, igniting swaths of flames across purple and green waters. Waves and currents roil with combustive spume. It is one of hell's terrible wonders, this expanse of burning water. Devils call it fire paw in mockery to earthly cat's paw gusts, rippling a far more wholesome fluid. A testament to how far into ruin the world they were entrusted to care for fell, its once life-giving ocean now poisonous and racked by fire. South and west, the burning lands tell their own tale of exploitation, abuse, and catastrophe in their endless eruptions of black smoke. Great fields of coal upthrust from deep below lay bare to air and fire. Fingers of lava run through it all, forming a fossil fuel caldera stretching for hundreds of miles. The lava spills out, burns the coal, reduces it to gas liquids, much of it aflame. The busy devils of Mechanum crawl across it. Taking 100 monstrous forms, they drive endless ranks of slaves before them to mine it, capture it, transport it from these ever-burning lands. A network of ghastly trains accepts the fruits of this dangerous toil, passing it on through crawling, flying, or rolling infernal combustion engine vehicles to various globular outposts. Each engine of this vast industry possessing a mortal's wisp. Literal mad ghosts driving terrible machines. A river of lava and flaming chunks of coal floating atop the scorching flood winds out and away from those magma fields burning through fossil fuels. It flickers its ill-spawned glow up to the underbellies of clouds, vomiting lightning, never rain. It flows through a land of escarpments, coiling at last around a mighty fortress, perched upon one of the high places, before quenching its rage in the lake of fire. If Myra were here, she'd be reminded of Ivan Volkov's wall photo depiction of tar sands mining operations, though that would seem but an essay to the complete diabolical work of destruction as industry spreading for hundreds of miles in every direction. But Myra is not here. The person, if he could be described as such, whose eyes behold this terrible scene is none other than the curse rider, Gibbens Crane. He sees it all from his perch at the fortress's open gate with eyes long since made insensitive. The fortress's mountainous battlements rise behind him. Razor towers crawling with hell's monsters and machines stretch up and up. Electric eyes and the light of wisp energy crisscross its great bulk like backlit spider veins. Vapors lifting off it give the impression of a made volcano facing off against the ruin of nature, volcanic land before it. Fortress Invicti. To him, this terror scenery is usual fare. Two great catastrophes, one rising up from the world, the other cynically crafted, both terrors that long ago became normal to him. He sits atop his nightmare, a horse-like machine crafted of coiled and riveted metal, wicked flaming claws in the place of hooves, and his enslaved wisp for its twisted soul, a roaring engine for its heart, pipes sprouting from it to blast forth a continuous shroud of pollution. He has heard the call of Ivan Volkov, Asmodeus's chosen. He now knows the names of enemies who would steal this mighty and long sought after prize from his lord. Beatrice Luciel, Robert Mori. In his descent to collect his nightmare, Asmodeus's courtiers gathered round, entreating him to take every action needed to secure Ivan for the designs of hell on earth. In gestures of command, they lifted their vulture-like bodies to form the pose of wisp-rending capture, saying, "Take the offending mage wisps at all costs." Gibbens Crane adjusts his black hat, tightens a bolo tie, straightens the baldric of bullets crossing his torso. He rests a hand on the polished obsidian and hell-silver handles of a long-barreled revolver. Upon his left shoulder, a triad of bulging warbs gleam with fickle blue light. 1,000 wisps powers each. The third one is a recent gift from Asmodeus, given to aid his new hunt in a show of favor. Gibbons looks out into the distance, lashes his whips with an electric whip flick of his left wrist, and issues an order as they scream in agony. "Serve the hunt, and you will know relief. Show us the swiftest path through hell and earth to our quarry, Luciel Mori." On earth, they were last seen in Berlin. What is the closest hell gate? Thus tasked, the wisps sacrifice spiritual energy to reach out, to create a map of active, permanent, and temporary hell gates, to note their locations on both earth and hell. In a pained shout that echoes through Gibbons' uncaring ears, they affirm his command. Their energy dances, showing the way. A nearby gate opens on an escarpment not a mile from here. It leads to a supposedly solemn chamber in Austin, Texas. There, a number of state leaders are pontificating over a decision. The larger number's thrust is to make it harder for youth, black, and brown people to vote. The same majority is also pushing an attempt to stifle clean power sources that don't come from the combustion of Earth's blood, fossil fuels. Pride eaters and other demons have assembled to rend open this gateway, to stare with malign interest upon those entrusted to protect the people who elected them, but who are instead slicing away their rights while ensuring ever more hellish living arrangements. Though Pride Eater interest is fierce, this gate will last mere minutes. Gibbons flicks his wrist again, releasing slave wisps from pain for now, and kicks spurs against the nightmare's metal hide. Electric current arcs into the beast. It lifts its head to issue a ghostly cry of anguish, then explodes forward. A carpet of blue flame spreads beneath each clawed footfall as it takes flight toward the Hellgate, bearing Gibbons over the molten river in a swift gallop. Its engine heart roars with effort. Black clouds of smoke spread wide behind. They blast through hot air in swift ascent, then turn toward the gathering demons. In less than a minute, they descend toward a black vertical rift. The nightmare lifts its head to give out another anguished wail. Demons scatter, Gibbons and Nightmare blast through. They penetrate the outer darkness, drift toward the arch of time, snap through, then rise into a chamber filled with arguing legislators. The future needs of Texas require energy resiliency of the kinds of jobs that matter most to Texans, one says as he lifts a sheaf of papers. If we wish to attract more clean energy gigafactories like Tesla's that presently employs 10,000 people, then we must stop clinging to harmful fossil fuels which keep hurling storms and fires at our power grids. He is a young man named Jeremy Cito, as indicated by the nameplate on his desk. There is zero scientific proof for the representative's claims of climate disaster, an older man drawls while adjusting a pair of Coke can glasses. Peter Murdoch, according to his own nameplate. And besides, our oil industry workers will be put out by your draconian support for expensive wind, solar, and EVs. Scientific proof you deny comes with each new report from actual scientists of most respected agency. I don't know what kind of science the representative uses to support such contrarian claims, and our oil industry workers can be given better jobs building both less expensive and non-harmful geothermal wells, lithium extraction, and offshore wind platforms. Gibbons emerges in ethereal form on the debate floor, just another evil ghost among the legislatures. A pride eater sits on Murdoch's desk, teasing away strands of red thought with claws running through his brains. The demon could possess him given time and enough hubris. Not yet. Gibbons is far less limited. His hundreds of enslaved wisps allow him to take form on Earth should he choose it. Just one of many dangerous traits. For the moment, he decides to remain unseen. He walks his nightmare through the chamber, upstairs, past the security station and metal detectors, and out through the front door. A faint smell of gasoline, the only telltale of his passing. Gibbons leads his nightmare onto the sidewalk and away from the Capitol. Turning into a side street, he flicks his left wrist in a whip-crack gesture once more. The wisps give another ghostly wail of pain as they draw forth energy to give him form. A red-orange globe passes over him, rising from the tips of boot spurs and passing up over a black cowboy hat. When the light departs, he is fully formed. He fishes a pair of sunglasses out of a breast pocket, unfolds the glasses, puts them on. The Austin air is a cool 105 degrees, pleasant compared to hell. The orange glow leaps over to his nightmare, shaping it into the form of a massive black Hummer with smokestack exhaust pipes sprouting from the roof and huge Coke cans bursting from the rear. Sides painted with streaming flames. A Confederate flag flies from a pole near the back. He winds up like a rattlesnake and slithers in through the already opened door. He throws it shut, revs the engine, and then roars out onto Austin's streets. Shoving through traffic, he coal rolls vehicles trailing behind, giving a taste of sulfur-laden black smoke. Angry curses add to the cacophony of snarling engines. He pushes the shades up and chuckles. Griefing locals is but one of many privileges. Taking a late turn, he cuts off a whole lane of traffic, belching smoke, then guns it onto I-35 South. Honks blare behind. He flicks them a lazy bird while passing beneath a sign reading, Austin Bergstrom International Airport, 5 miles. And that concludes Helkey 11, A Curse Rider Goes Forth. As you can see, there's trouble brewing for Beatrice and Mori. Trouble coming quick. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care and good night.